matter who you are, where you are, what your choices have been, and what karmic timelines and contracts you have journeyed, the light is calling for the reunification of all aspects of life in this realm now. It is calling for the cleansing of all polarities. It is calling for the rising of all sacred heart centers now. All are being summoned home to the greater light now.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Whole Soul Mastery's Live Well, Live Whole podcast series, which spotlights mind, body, spirit, wholeness, fitness, and wellness, and the significance of integrating polarity within and coming into unity consciousness again. So I'm Marie Mohler. I'm the co-founder of Whole Soul Mastery, and I am here with Livia So, who is such a beautiful soul. And I'm so excited to welcome you today to this podcast. Thank you, Livia, for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you know, I think it's no accident that we're connecting on the 8-8 Lionsgate. There's so many powerful energies streaming through. And I wonder, you know, do you have a sense of how do you experience cosmological events maybe? I'm jumping ahead because do you want to share a little bit about you? You know, just a little bit about
there's no jumping ahead. It's perfect place, perfect timing.
Okay.
So it's really interesting. I had no concept of, I'm just flowing organically here. I had no concept of what Lionsgate was until 2.5 years ago, whatever. But I'm originally from South Africa, as you know. And 3 years ago, I had decided to take a trip back, and the words in my mind, if I can see my crystals, the words in my mind were, I needed to breathe the air of my childhood. That's what I need to breathe the air of my childhood. And I jump all over the show, but it really isn't. It's just working through all these dimensions and templates. And it's interesting because the first recordings of yours that I listened to there was a great emphasis on breath, which continues through, but at that point in time. And what really struck me, I think 2 nights ago, I have no concept of time, thank goodness, is that when you breathe, it actually sometimes hurts in your chest. And that's the reminder of how closed our hearts are. And it was like, it's not just about the breath of connection. Yes. But in order to take that deep breath, you actually have to open your heart space. You can't not. And I was like, wow. Anyway, so I took this trip back to Cape Town, South Africa. And on the 8th of the 8th, I had this magical experience. I had never been close to family or anything like that. And I had this encounter with my maternal family, and they just, I don't know, there's like quite a big age gap. So they're like around 15 to 20 years older than me, although we like on the same line derivatives. And I had this massive heart opening. And I wasn't like this one's grandchild or this one's daughter. It was this interaction. And yes, it was still in the land of ego and person and all of that. But for me, it was a massive heart opening. And now I look 3 years later, and this is exactly what we're about. Yes. And it's kind of like there was the seed. And the irony is that in my past life, when I identified with religion, I was Jewish. And so it was, they put up a stone, sorry, after a certain amount of time, and it's the consecration. So this meeting actually took place at a cemetery. It was like, oh my goodness. And then went on to like breakfasty thing, whatever. But here we are. If that is, and why did I say that? Because it's like the seed, but actually it just didn't seem right to me to say seed, bearing in mind it was a cemetery. And if I think of it now, what comes to me, it was like the laying down of the old, the surrendering of the old, the burying of the old, but that it goes back to the earth, not a discarding type thing. And what's happening now, I feel, is that I've had a deep sense, which we might get into, and I mentioned to you on an email last week, is that I get a sense that we are really anchoring in, I'll get back to something else. We're really anchoring in the way that I envision this whole soul thing is that there's the me of me. And then if you've done the twin flame, and I don't like that term, but it's the only one I can use, there's that other part of you or not. And then there's the next level. And for me, I have the inner sight that we are anchoring in, so like that second or third level, depending if you've been on the fractaled immediate self path type thing. And in that same sense, within that, because this is what it's about, you can only really connect in that open heart. I get the sense that there's this kind of cycle of where we really at is anchoring in that open heart space. So it's not so much an act as in a doing, but it's increasingly that the vibration is continuously available, that we're more presently within that bandwidth. And before I stop and give you a chance, it's very important for me to say that I've come to understand that we is whoever is in that bandwidth at any given moment. And so someone who listens to this might have absolutely no connection, but in 6 months' time is like, wow, because time is irrelevant. And it's not, and I also, like in the past when I was still more in my mind, more in ego, it was like, oh my goodness, this one's walking through portals and this one's seeing light. I'm useless. I'm not seeing any of this. Like, what's the deal? But I know, but no. And so I wrote myself off in so many ways. There is one path to awakening, and that's your path. There is one path to ascension, that is your path. And we come together in the perfect moments. So that's when I refer to we, it's whoever is in that vibrational alignment and working on that particular project at that particular time, no time. I'm quiet now.
So beautiful. And I can distill that amazing energy that you're talking about into resonance. And it's a part of our language that we've lost in this realm. I mean, many people don't think about resonance.
No, we haven't lost it. You know me, I'll always capture you on that one.
Yes.
Lost means gone.
Oh, no,
that it is.
Amnesia, a little bit of
Correct. We need the right words though, because when we say lost, we're in the belief system as it's gone. At least if we say, periodically forgotten or amnesia, we're still empowering ourselves that little bit more. But lost means it's gone.
That's right. No, you're exactly right. And it's always accessible and it's always retrievable because it lives inside us. And so, right, it's a living energy that can never be lost. And you're right, it's good to correct that language and to do it in the moment so people can say, we both do this. And when we catch ourselves saying something and say, wait, did I mean lost? No, that's not an accurate vibration. And we call it back and we trace the energy, because in doing this, like what you just did with me, we're giving ourselves permission to retrieve it, to access that knowing at soul level again. And in the resonance, I would say, that's where we all know everything. We know each other. We remember our soul purpose. We remember our soul projects. And in any given moment, we can be in a slightly different frequency and version of ourselves, which might make that resonance or that soul project seem hazier, right? It just feels a little more distant from us. But then we can remember it's always inside us. And whatever we're experiencing in any given moment, when you said you wrote yourself off for a period of time, right? It's just, that's what you were experiencing, but here you are, like we ebb and flow in these frequencies, and the ability to move in frequency is so essential now to be in that heart space, because when we're just in our ego minds and you live in Israel now, and I'm in the North Carolina, the United States of America, and yet we're flowing in frequency where we're not limited by time and space. Of course, Zoom helps us with that a little bit, this platform, but we're able to connect in this deeper way. And the minute that you and I connected first, it was this recognition of like, I know you. I know your frequency. I know your song. And you're saying to me, I know your song. And there's something so amazing. And this Lionsgate, if we bring that back in, you know, that's to me the Lionsgate on the 8-8. And I always see eights as infinity. Right? It's like a double infinity day, which is like, you know, people should like, you know, just allow themselves to love what they love most on this day. It's like a lottery winning feeling type day where, you know, but it's a cosmic lottery day. And I get to have this cosmic lottery with you, and we get to pour through these energies truly right now together, which is so amazing. And that's where I feel so inspired, because I could have had an incredibly challenging day 2 days ago, or for an hour, or for 60 minutes. And yet I know in the next breath, or in the next moment, and in the next interaction, I can connect with another soul on the pathway who's remembering the resonance, and we sort of shine a light and we mirror that to each other, and we can be in that space. So it's like if anybody listening to this is in a moment where they're feeling lower and they're like, I can't resonate with that feeling at all that they're describing, wait a minute, take a breath. You know, there's another timeline that you can access in any moment, and another vibration. And that helps us not feel locked into wherever we are. You can just be where you are and know that in another breath. In fact, in one of my transmissions with Frequency Writer, I think it was maybe 2 transmissions ago, the guides were talking about people in the 3D world, in the third dimensional world. And they were saying, really, all you did was breathe yourself into a timeline for a time. And all you're doing now is breathing yourself back to your 5th dimensional consciousness and those frequencies of unified light that you're allowing again. And it really is, I know for some people it's a stretch to think that our breath is taking us anywhere, but in fact it is like the portal to move via.
You said so much, yeah.
I know it's a lot, but I'm just following energy. It's like we can move in that energy with our breath. And I think that's why podcasts, even just like we're in the same breath space. We're in a similar resonance, just in the breathing this message together. There's something, I don't know, just really beautiful. When I get out, we're like giddy on this call. We should just say to our listeners, we haven't talked in a few months. So, you know, we're excited to be together, and it's like a reunion. And anybody else that's joining us in this podcast gets to experience that feeling of 2 souls coming together in this joyful reunion process that I would call, at some level, it's resonance. There's a beautiful resonance. Yeah.
So I want to jump in there, and just because the thing that I've learned that I do in my being is like I get activated and respond, and if I remember what I need to remember, what is important to come through. We spoke about, what was it now? I pointed lost. And then you said like that's not like a true resonance. Well, I think in a sense it is a true resonance, but it's a true resonance on a timeline that we need to question, do we want to be on that timeline? Yes. And so is it in true alignment with my highest self? Because I think, with my heart, I think that we've spent a lot of time on the journey within polarity saying this is false, and I will probably still use that word because I'm still somewhere in the program, but actually nothing's false. It all is, and it's about choosing which is with the highest, because if we've perceived it, it's truth within that bandwidth, but is that the bandwidth which is highest truth? Let me put it that way, perhaps. And then also, like, I think that when we still speak this way, like about, like, how do I put it? We still so much use the language of polarity. So even like we are 2 souls connecting, like the way that I've begun to see it is that I know whoever's listening to this will get it. It's not some psychotic or schizophrenic experience. But even that, one had to deprogram. My son is, I don't, however much he pays attention to me, but he seriously wondered if I'm psychotic. And I get that from that perspective, particularly with psychology backgrounds and that. But the way that I feel I'm privileged through hard work to see it is that we aren't two souls connecting. We are one eternity that are recognizing the same resonance, be it for a nanosecond, using words of time, be it for a week, be it for a month, for however long it is in that, what I referred to just now, that kind of combined, merged soul aspects, highest good for activating whatever the so-called other, but really not, requires in order to then either, what would the word be, to spin, can't think of the word, like to oscillate at that resonance for staying and building bigger, or for moving out to bring that and then going to do that somewhere else. I see like little flowers opening up, like flower of life opening up everywhere. So I think that's also like what I've been inner witnessing in this past week. I mean, if you and I would have spoken a week ago, it would have been a whole nother ball game. And that's probably because I actually didn't answer your previous question about cosmologically how I see things. But if I'm going to step into that level, because I don't really see things cosmologically anymore, because again, that is a separation. But when required, we dance in those fields or whatever. It could be the energies coming in. And I heard someone saying that this is like the whole Sirius energy now, Lionsgate. Yes. And she said that Sirius is about, the Sirian energy is about growing up. And she said star seeds don't want to work. And the Sirian energy is the adult in it. And we are all those things, but this is really stepping into, maybe for me, I resonate more as it being like the divine masculine aspect of things. So that coming through. So I think those are the things that I wanted to mention to you. And if it was anything else, then so be it. It is beautiful, and it is a reunion. And how long that union lasts for, I think it's just perfect. But I also know that just a drop, I don't know how to make cosmic measurements, but a drop above that reunion, we're together anyway.
Right.
It's that expanding consciousness that I worked it out yesterday. Like, you know things, but then I'm like, this is so simple. It's not easy because there's all that programming to drop. Oh, I know the other thing I wanted to say to you. I don't think, it's just doubt that says like I should just put the cushioning on the side. I don't think 3D exists anymore. I firmly believe that the Earth is 5D. What exists are the remnants of programming that was 3D programming. And so again, as we drop that, as we dissolve that,
yes.
The messages I've gotten is Gaia's upgraded. And this has been for a while. This has definitely been for a while. And so I think to catch ourselves there, even when we speak about, the 3D, it isn't there anymore. It's the remnants of old programming, programs starving themselves out. And as I said to you, and let me tell everyone else here, I have no idea what's happening in the world. I switched off about a month ago. I made that conscious decision. Clearly, I needed to dip into the depths of polarity and duality. Got so stuck in all of that. And then just one morning, it was like, actually, it wasn't one morning. I was sitting in the sauna and thinking the best way to save the children is to shine my light. Yes. Getting stuck in the evils of what is going on is keeping me perpetuating that illusion. So it wasn't like, oh, I decided to be flaky. I came, but I know that I needed to have gone into those very, very, what the human would call dark places, in order to reawaken the importance of what my particular role is, and that's shining the light.
Right. And
Okay.
we're each listening for that. And it's such an attuned level, whether we realize that or not. We're all called to participate in different ways as aspects of the one that you're describing. And, some of us have, it's in our role to play is that we do keep more of an awareness of what's unfolding and shining the light into that. And some of us are the space holders and the frequency holders that are knowing the 5D and knowing that it's already here and knowing that the 3D is already dematerialized. And there are just these remnant energies. And it takes all of us. And then there's some people beating the drum that there's only 3D, and people who think about the fifth dimensional consciousness and this fluidity of consciousness are crazy, right? And then we've just lost it. There's that lost word again, And so it's interesting, but we each hold our unique frequency, that pillar of light, differently. And yet that's creating the collective experience right now. And there are many people like you, Livia, that I've heard reflected to me in the last several weeks or several months of I'm just moving into 5D. Like I'm just really not engaging, the old language or the dramas or the details in the dramas that people, right? Some people live
Just
their
worked out a dream I've had for years listening to you. Okay, go on.
right. Right. And you clearly are moving more and more into being that and letting go of the illusion and letting go of being in the details of the drama. And some
Oh, it's gone.
right.
It's gone. It's gone. I had a week in January, I think. January. I was literally walking around just muttering, the emperor has no clothes. The emperor has no clothes. He's naked, people. Can you not see that? And veils dropped. And I just couldn't anymore.
Yes.
And it was a blessing. I mean, those one closest to me thought I was insane, but only because I was then triggering his stuff. And that's all that it's really about. And we have to honor that.
Well, and it's
And
so
would I have the confidence to go through with it? This can take a whole nother tangent.
No, it's true, because when you follow, and that's what we're doing right now, we're following frequency, we're following parcels of energy. But, when you give yourself permission to be what you are, be where you are as a frequency, we're so much more than these physical bodies, but we are these physical bodies. And there is this integration process of honoring the human self and the physical vessel, but also honoring the soul self that moves and journeys through time in this world. We are meant to be more fluid, more.
I don't know if we are these physical bodies or these physical bodies are us. I don't know how to play with those words. It's like, you live within consciousness rather than consciousness living within you.
Yeah.
I always imagine that like a fish tank or an ocean.
Oh, I guess. Yes.
So I don't know, because I don't know. This is seriously, I don't know. It's like we're busy activating and exploring and exploding this beautifully together. Because if you go back to, the way that I understand it, as our DNA comes online, I mean, nobody's coming in and implanting the DNA. It's there. It's just not active. It's coming online.
Yeah.
That is the embodiment of the soul. Now, the soul doesn't reside in the body. The soul is everywhere. So as we transform the body into the soul, whoever's listening to this can go and play with it all they want. That's what it's about. Going to the sandpit, going to the jelly tray, I don't know, whatever. But I think that we have to, if we committed to this, we have to say, but I don't know, other than that absolute knowing of, consciousness type thing. But we so easily trap ourselves in belief systems. And I was a big one for that. This is the way. This is right. I have the understanding. I have the understanding for this now moment. And, please God, who is all of what we are, I shift to another understanding because that means I've grown. So, but I'm not sure that we are these bodies. I'm not sure about that at all.
I think we inhabit. It's just like, I don't like to really make the analysis, so it's not a great analysis, but it's the way I can easily explain this. It's kind of like, you have your phone or you have your laptop and you have your operating software, the hard drive that's making things, all the mechanical things that's making things work. And then, you insert the software that animates it, and I think we are the spiritual software. The soul is the energy that animates these physical bodies. And to me, we need both. We need both the physical body. Without a physical body, we would be spirits supporting all these physical bodies on earth. We would be the mentors and the guides in spirit, right? We have to have these vessels, so in a way that our consciousness can express in a realm that can't see spirit, right? In a realm.
Now, I get this.
I
get this, but I still, for me, and that's where the beauty is. We can have our own personal understandings of this. But I still think there's something about some kind of, for how I interpret it, is there some kind of identification with body, because it'll unravel. We'll do the work in our sleep or whatever,
Yes,
but there's something that seems important there. There's something, because even if we say we're the vessels, I don't know, it's not resonating with me. I just, it's, as I say, like, I've just been blasting through things at a rapid rate recently. And give me a moment here. This is not a good example, but it's a partially good example. I remember when my kids were little, you got like these kind of capsules, like looked a bit like jelly beans or whatever, and you pop them in the bath, and then the outside of it dissolved and the sponge animal jumped out of it, whatever. Okay. I'm seeing that the body is like that plastic outside that dissolves, that goes to the nothingness. The not good thing in this example is, like, we aren't just the plastic animal that jumps out, we're everything. But for me, I'm seeing that the body really does dissolve with the upgrading of the DNA. It's like, I don't have the quantum understanding of what happens to the carbon as we become crystalline. Where does that carbon go? And the way that I'm seeing it is that the carbon is the body structure that we understand ourselves as the body. And so when we still are in these frames that turn to crystalline and plasma, and our light body becomes more somehow visible, that's a whole different, that's the body that we are, but not the carbon structure that we're looking at.
Yes,
that makes sense.
It is. It is interesting, because I so resonate with what you're describing, because I can feel that energetic picture you just painted. And then I can say, with like the clients that I work with, the people I connect with, there's a huge challenge, especially for many people who would identify as light workers, right? Or as star beings. There's this sense, like you said, that you were talking about that woman who said star seeds don't want to do the work, right? Is that how you said it?
Well, like, they don't want to get just the kind of, like, when we're in our starseed phase, we just want to, like, I'm from the stars, like, it's all going to just be delivered on a platter, or let me lie back, or whatever, like, in this very cool, like, I don't know, somebody used to call me a hippie, and I found it insulting, because it was like, oh, you don't have responsibility, let's put it that way. Okay. So I think what you were saying is kind of like, star seeds possibly just think it's all going to come, and you don't have to do the doing of it. Like, you still have to have the job, you just do it from your heart this time, whatever. Yes, that kind of thing.
That kind of thing. And there is a challenge many people feel of, like, I don't know what the word, it's integration. It's like allowing both, like the physical nature. It even comes in the word devaluing, that energy of devaluing the human essence that we are, the physical framework that we are, right? Because we're so much soul, and that's all that matters, and that the soul is all that is, that embodies the body, the physical body. But, in my work, there's been a lot of learning too, of like honoring and valuing the third dimensional us that we've been, and the story and the journey of us that's now integrating into this higher dimensional essence of us, whether you call that crystalline and carbon or 3D and 5D, or, you know, physical and non-physical, whatever language we want to put to it, there is this integration, and there sometimes is this tendency to devalue the body or the 3D experiences because we don't want to experience that. But I think we have to, there's also, for many people, you've done some of the work that you've quantumly allowed yourself to move through time. The emperor's new clothes, right? The emperor has no clothes, right? That transparency, you've been dissolving that outer membrane for a while. And yet there's a lot of people that don't have the language or the understanding vibrationally of that. They desire it. But what translates in their experiences is the pushing away of their humanness, the pushing away of their, what we resist persists kind of thing.
I have to move. Okay,
yeah.
So
what do you think about that resistance to our humanness? What comes up?
So let me go there. Devaluing the human, that's where I'm first drawn to. Sorry if I jiggle around, but my ascension thing is my lower back. Devaluing the human. I think that, and I'm only speaking from my perspective, and whoever resonates with my perspective, I'm not giving this as a blanket truth for anyone, and I think that is key to put out there again.
Yeah.
I think that the only value of the human experience is to bring us back home. The way that I see it, so I think that there's a beauty in giving value to the experience, but not giving value to the stories.
Yes.
And I think that one of the biggest hurdles or not actually a hurdle, I see it like a boulder, a rock. The rocks in my path have been like, but I can't access this. I can't see this. I can't remember the exact words that you just said that people are saying.
Well, there's a resistance to embracing that their aspect of the humanness that we are.
No, but there was something about that they can't connect to 5D or something like that. Okay, so what came up for me anyway is that there's nothing to connect to, as in it's all inside. There's nothing outside. And it comes back to this really simple thing again. It is just a return home. It is just an expansion of consciousness. And so what it is, and so this is why I have this thing with valuing the human experience, is that it's about releasing the programming. And while we are valuing the human stories, while we are valuing the egoic dramas that we call life, that we call identities, that's also why there's like the starseed identity, this identity, light work identity. While we're giving value to those things, we are delaying or making fuzzy or whatever our access to the next level of our awareness. It's just the way that I've seen it. I can't tell you, I mean, like you said, I'm not in the US. Dollars for me are quite a bit of money. You don't know how much I've spent on courses, trying to get the information, trying to get the next brick on the bridge. It's all inside. There is nothing else. It's all inside. And so I think that value, what I would say to someone, if they were open to hearing it, well, I'd just probably say it anyway and know that a seed was being planted or watered. The seeds are there, watered, yes. Fertilized, is that know thyself. Know thyself. not with your brain. Your brain won't know thyself. The human experience has taught us to value the analytical, has taught us to value the linear, has taught us to value the almost, I used to experience myself with a picking away at my brain, trying to understand things in my life. And this was like, wow, what an academic, brilliant mind. This is the programming deep within our DNA, projected outwardly, experienced as the play of reality. But you know it with your heart. Your mind tells you, get the guarantee, get the proof, and then go ahead. It's the other way around here. And so bringing that into it, it's understanding in the heart mind, not the head mind.
Right.
And if you're struggling, just take a breath, because it's going to open that heart. And if you have to take 27 breaths, take 27 breaths. I speak with such humility, because I have done the route, whatever English,
Yes.
of whiplash, of abuses, of everything, which I created. So when we value the human experience for the courage that the soul had, the beauty that the soul had, whatever we want to have, but just to put it into context, put it into perspective, it was the opportunity within the realm of duality to understand and to know, to understand that which I am. And so what a beautiful gift. But then leave it. Move forward. It's the clinging onto it that's the problem.
The attachment.
Exactly. And that's attachments to everything. And that's why I say it's really simple. If we just let go of attachment, it's all cool and done. Not easy.
Translating that into daily experience is the work.
Exactly. It's just like that. I saw this thing come up on my YouTube feed, 7-minute exercises a day, and you can get the body that you want. What nonsense. There's no quick fix. And I thought to myself, you know what? I was really a non-egoic pride, but it's like, I finally can see through this. It was like, even if I did that, and actually it's not, it's 1 minute, because it's interval training. So you're training for 20 seconds and having a 2-minute break. I'm like, my muscles in this body, and from what I understand that the muscles carry the grids, my muscles actually need to work out longer than that for the highest good. And so you start debunking the stories. And it's interesting, because one of the things I studied at university was sociology, and I was thinking yesterday while crossing the road, these things come to me. I think the most valuable lesson, I don't know if this woman is still alive, Professor Judith Head, wherever you're out there, she was a British lecturer who taught me at University of Cape Town, the most valuable lecturer I ever had, and she's taught us about debunking. And I remember another lecturer, Johan Graaf, and he said that the highest level of suicides at the university were first-year sociology students, because they had to question everything about their realities. And I thought, wow, that was 30 years ago, and I was sitting in a very 3D, but sociology then was the awakening. For that level. And it's just fascinating. We've been doing this for forever, and yet we've only just started now, because now is all that exists. So back to those clients, it's about just know thyself, whatever it takes. Oh, and there's something very important that I do want to add to this. This is where I am focused in my journey at the moment. Your body is supremely important, but it's your light body. And that's what you want to nourish. That's what you want to feed. That's what you want to strengthen. And it's not just one thing. There's many layers to the light body. But your light body is housed within your physical body, within those dormant DNA strands, particles, whatever one calls them. And that's what you want to do. And how are you going to do that? I mean, I could give a lecture, and I don't want to. But it's heart space. It's all that purification of the thoughts, purification of what you eat. And that's not to say, well, you only eat raw and live. You eat raw and live when your body tells you to eat raw and live. And you eat your carbs when your body needs that. And literally, I've been through a tub of peanut butter, like I go through it a week when I need it, because that's what my body needs. My light body needs that. I make a point of being in the sunshine, at least 20 minutes, going for a walk, photonic light. So that body's the real deal body. And yes, it's housed within the physical body, but don't confuse the two. But I said that's where my focus is, increasing light quotient. And how do I increase my light quotient? By having more space to absorb. And I think, again, I believe that where we struggle on the journey is where we get all this magnificence, but we've got nowhere to put it. So we're having the bashing around within ourselves. You come back to that, release. Whatever's not on my highest trajectory, I release. Whatever's not in my highest good, I release. And when I speak for I, it is my intent that the I is whoever is within my soul group, twin flame, monad structure, whatever that is wanting to be part of the journey, even if their person hasn't agreed to it yet. So
can I ask you to clarify a couple of things? Because
Sure.
I've always been curious. You know, we're really spotlighting language, and language is vibration. And you know, years ago, I was told that I was going to be part of something that was bringing the new language. And when I do readings with people, I can even palpate vibrationally and give language to things that they just can't see inside themselves. And whenever I connect with you, Livia, you take me to a whole other level. It's so good. It's so good. And we need to rise to this level, because the old language, whether it's German, English, French, whatever, they're flat languages. It was Sanskrit that was a living language. And, you know, where every sound is a song, and every song communicates something from all of creation, right? So when you say the word monad, I've heard many people, a number of channels use that, and I haven't understood that term. And I also wanted to ask you, when you say there's layers of the light body, I would just be curious about, you know, what you understand. Are there names of those layers? I just would like to hear more about that. So the monad and the light body, if you could speak a little.
So I've heard different channelers, or whatever you want to call them, I don't have words, speak of monads in different ways. And I just have my association with it and the way that I see things. So I see things almost like, if you can imagine, it's a long time since I was at school, but chemical compounds, like with the circles and the lines, and that's how I see this type thing. And for me, because I know deep in my heart that I have a split off twin, whatever word. So that for me, there's the wholeness of me, but that's not the wholeness of my total identity, because I don't have of this molecule or something, this atom, I don't know. So then that comes together, and that would be like level 1, level 2 type thing. And then I see like the circles formed. Then I see like out here, I know clearly there's one other person who's over there. But the minute that we come into resonance, I used the word valency this week. So that kind of comes together. But there's obviously more than one. There's just one that has been brought to my conscious awareness, that is the identity of, for all I know, you one of them. I don't know. It just hasn't been shown to me. But then we go up. And as I said, it forms like these little flowers. And for me, like, I then imagine there's like a soul family. So if you take the nuclear concept of the nuclear family, and then there's an extended family. And for me, that is a monad. Now, I know that there's some who say the whole thing is the monad. That's not the way that I see it.
You see like soul groups, kind of.
But I see them as concentric.
Whole unto themselves, like whole unto themselves. And
Right.
connected. And
So whole unto yourself, everyone is whole unto themselves. However, they are part of the whole. So that we are, how did I explain it this week to someone? That we are unique, but not individual. Because individual is somehow more on separation than uniqueness. I don't, if you can imagine like an ombre of colors, the bottom color is not the top color. However, when you look at the gradation of it, well, the bottom color became the top color. And it's that kind of thing. And then when it spins together, it's pure white light. I think for me, that's how I see it.
Explanation in the form of color. I can really see that. I hope our listeners can too, but I can see that spectrum of color.
So,
yeah.
And I think that's why also coming back to like when I thought, well, I've really lost it because I'm not experiencing portals and what have you. And well, I saw a unicorn last week and it was the most exciting thing. And thank goodness I was with a child when I was like, oh my goodness, I just saw a unicorn. She said, I see them when I go to sleep at night. So I was like, yes. But I couldn't before because I would say at the pinkish layers where the unicorns were at the blue layers. It just meant that I hadn't, and we shift all the time. However, we expand and contract. And I truly have experienced that you contract less than you expand. So you are making expansive progress all the time. And then you asked me another question, which I don't remember. It was about
the light body. You were talking about their layers of the light body, which seems when you said that I felt like went beyond. I've heard many people, I don't know if it's 18 layers or, but I talk about the physical, emotional, spiritual, mental bodies. But, do you have an understanding of the light body that we truly are that goes beyond that?
So from what I understand, and again, the human brain so wants to get caught in labels, and that's why it's really been an untraining for me, because in my past life, I would have been searching this up and writing a thesis on it. It's got to just come from within.
Yes.
But from what I understand is that there's plasma, there's crystalline, there's different types of rays, be it gamma frequency. I don't know if you hear the buzzing. We just have to be quiet. And so that's what I think it is. And I think if you take it down to that example of the aura, of the etheric layer, of the whatever, it's a similar type of thing. And maybe in the same sense, if the way I explained in the concentric circles of up to oversouls and what have you, it's the same type of thing, but different layers need different things. They different, for lack of better understanding, chemical makeup. And so different things need different things.
Yes.
That's what it's different frequencies.
Yes.
That's it.
And if I could, is saying that we're layers of frequencies, is that a way of understanding? Even just like you said, the layers of the spectrum of color, that they're layers of
if it works for you, that's a way of understanding. We have to find our own images inside.
Yes.
Because that's where everything is. Because if I said, I think it's best if you interpret it this way, what are you doing? You're giving away your power. And then I'm dishonest to you. I'm keeping you in victim mode. And then I am dishonoring myself because I'm dishonoring your path. I want you to get on the path just as you want me to get on the path. And when I say you, it's everyone, because we want to go home.
Right.
How do I get home with the missing piece of the puzzle?
Yes.
I don't.
It's
and
like
so the human says, you withholding explanation. No, I'm not. I'm going to turn you inwards, and I'm going to support you going inwards because you hold the perfect understanding for yourself. So if my explanation triggers something within you, and then you form your own, I don't want to say replicate, but if you can use, your ombres are going to look different to mine if you go with the ombre concept. But if I'm telling you, like we were taught at school, parrot fashion learning, that's not your empowerment. So whoever's listening to this, however it works for you, that might stimulate something about ice cream flavors for you. I don't know. And that's the perfect way to get it. And it's this like we say, like we want to internalize it. Even that sounds like coming from the outside. The internalized that we want to do is the activation of the internal. So we want it to be the living light within us to radiate outwards. And the way that even I saw like this whole like the photonic light from what we call the outside is exactly the cellular light that is within. And it's going back. I wrote this to someone, photonic cellular mirror, and I put it as one word. As you know, sometimes I put it, and straight after that I put the infinity symbol, the coming back to that 8. That light that is coming from without is a projection of the light that is within. That light that is within is projecting without. That there is no separation, and yet it's all from within. But it's not, because it's beautiful. It's just magic.
It is magical. And when you can release the barriers that our egos try and set up all those structures for us, and we're really also, I mean, there's so many ways to talk about this, but there's the masculine, but the feminine flows. The feminine, I remember I received a channeling years ago that talked about the feminine is the part of us that's tapped into everything. It already knows everything. It is that inner gnosis. It flows in that knowing. And it's when we became so unbalanced, and then the masculine traits of us were the things that kind of took over our world in many.
Well, they also, we need to say they weren't divine masculine traits very often, and they weren't divine feminine traits very often. They were lower vibrational. Yes. Exactly. That's really important. And we have the child. There was something I want to also point this out to whoever's watching this or listening to this. I go through hell on a very regular basis. Like, I'm like all very excited and happy because we're in the zone right now. Like, this is what we should be doing all the time.
Right?
It's about. I go through hell because, if I can share something, what happens as we get the light, be it internal, external, whatever, it's shining the light on stuff. And hell being that 3D programming and the whole human experience, which we chose. If we can understand it, that nothing that happens is new. Nothing that happens is current. What is happening is a triggering of the buried vibration, of the repressed energy. And if you can catch yourself and be conscious there, you just allow it to release, and you don't, that magical word, attach to it. And then you actually just not only walk through fear, you walk into fear, because you know that this is how I'm going to release it. This is how I'm going to make space. There is no bypass. 20-something years ago, I said, in order to get through it, you have to go through it. We know this. We've all been telling ourselves this, but we have shied away from the work. In these victim modes, in these blame modes, with the shame, with the guilt, with the manipulation, we're free of that now if we choose to put them down. So please know that I don't always choose for my life to be a bed of roses. I nearly said my life isn't a bed of roses. The truth is all of our lives are a bed of roses. We don't always choose to be in the garden of magnificence. But it's about releasing. And really, if you can visualize your cells releasing, letting it go, and you don't come back to things. Like always, I'm like, I thought I cleared that. I come back. There was more. Don't beat yourself up. I don't know if it was Abraham Hicks once in the day I listened, and I think Esther said, you don't give a baby a steak. We get it in so much as we can cope with. And I remember one of the things I studied was educational psychology, and I remember seeing that like Venn diagram, Vygotsky's theory, about what you give a child to learn. You don't understimulate, you don't overstimulate, you give it in that connectivity point, that beautiful union point that will push them just to the point where they can taste success. And success for us is integration of the new, which is the old, because it always was, etc., purity. So it's really, I mean, I don't want to go in and tell my life stories because I place absolutely no value on them. I picked a life that would give me the optimal experiences to highlight and shed the light on all that which was not of highest alignment. Let's put it that way. And to that end, I'm deeply grateful.
Yes, because it's so rich, the journey itself of rediscovering
Yes.
that which we are, right? And in our best moments, we can say it and we can laugh. And in our most challenging moments, we're a puddle of tears. But it's all
That's beautiful too.
right? And our souls do crave this expansion. In the end, the soul essence loves to expand itself.
Because that's what it is. It's like everything is already created, even though it's eternal and infinite. Going back to your computer metaphor analogy, I saw it.
But yes.
No, but I saw yesterday, like I walk randomly and I'm like, huh? And I was like, this is so, it's actually like the human, it's like embarrassingly simple. Like I can't tell people this because it's like so dumb. But the way that I saw it was like, if you can imagine that eternity and infinity could be contained within a computer, okay? But it's a growing computer, just yet. Yeah. And all the software is there. All the applications are there. But sometimes you get a virus or whatever, a bug, and so something doesn't work. It didn't disappear. It's just not active for that period of time. And that's what we are. All the software is installed. Everything is within us. And what happens is we expand consciousness. And as we expand consciousness, we turn on the programs that are there. Now, the human wants to say to Marie, you need to go out and design and write a program. You need to. You don't. You did it in your other form. It's there. Everything is within us. So it's so simple. Exactly. We are increasingly processing all the software that already resides within us. We're everything, for goodness sakes. When Esther used to say, you are, what did she used to say? I don't remember, something like the creator or something. Like, I get it now. But not in the human, like, let's all go and create a car type thing. But you can do that too. It just doesn't appeal to me. But we are infinite creators.
That is, and that's the joy that we get when we're here on this conversation. And anybody that's participating and listening to this, whether you listen to it today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, we are creating this moment and this frequency on the planet, and we're experiencing it simultaneously. When you were talking, I was thinking about, are we the drop or the ocean? Are we the ocean in a drop, right? All of that.
Everything.
We're everything. And that also...
I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. Just let everyone close our eyes, go into our hearts, and just experience that drop and the ocean. You can't, and then open your eyes whenever you want, but when you sit with that, you can't not just become the flow. You can't not expand. But the human mind, am I the drop? Am I the ocean? Can I be both at the same? Just go into your heart and just feel yourself as that moisture.
Yes.
Sorry, go on.
No, it's absolutely beautiful, and it's perfect. It's spot on for also these energies of the Lion's Gate, in many ways, because I think there is this flow. I do think there is this synergy. I think we are part of it all. And I think on a day like this, which is also a very powerful month of August, it's always, the sun, it's, here, it's summer where you are in Israel, right?
It's really hot in this country. Really hot.
I mean, so we've got some heat right now in definitely some parts of the world, and we're feeling all of that. And yet it's all inviting us to, allow ourselves. And there is this like giving ourselves permission to be what we are. I remember, and I don't know, because you talk about yourself writing theses and doing all the research and all that, I remember a time when I would get such satisfaction from having this long to-do list, and I would, prioritize, and, right? and multitasking. And if somebody's
Oh.
listening and you're doing that, it's perfectly okay, because we all go through, and I got a lot of marrow out of that experience. And I remember a channel once saying to me, she said, well, Marie, you're quite a taskmaster. And the way she said it, I thought, oh, that's not a good thing. Like, what does that mean? And I looked and I saw how I did love that I was able to do like 15 things at once. You know, I could be on the phone with like the phone company, and I could be, you know, writing notes for a book I'm going to write, and I could be parenting my children, making lunch, and I could be doing, and I think we were, you know, we got engaged in the 3D programming, and that took us out of this place of being, just being that drop and the ocean as one, right?
We had to. It was part of the deal.
It was part of the deal. And then you grow a sense of humor about it, and you observe yourself doing that. And you're on like kind of fast forward, and you're like multiplicity. And you think, but I'm not present in any of the things that I'm doing. And then you start to carve out, and I had to work with myself. Maybe that's not the right word, but I had to really engage awareness to like let go of
become conscious.
Like when I had to become conscious. And then very next day when I was like, I'm going to try and do this and be in this weekend and not make any lists, and see if I can actually, you know, move through the energy and complete some of the things I wanted to complete without needing a list to organize my brain to get it done. And that was like a magical transition for me when I moved away from lists, and I moved away from time. I don't wear a watch. In fact, the universe took my clocks. They just broke my clock. I had it since high school. Okay, it was like, you know, it was called the Dream Machine. But anyway, I had a clock forever. And at the same time my clock went into like cardiac arrest and failed, my watches did too. And then I found a watch that was charged by the sun, and that worked for only a little while. And I drain watch batteries. Like, the universe took time out of the equation. And
you gifted yourself. Let's not separate the universe from you. You are the universe.
It's so right? And
time doesn't exist.
And I just plucked it out. But you and I both know that there's like the human, if we call it 3D, the whatever, the dating,
ego, person, whatever.
The experience of like, you know, oh, you have this feeling of like, my watch isn't there. You have to go through the vibrational shifts that move into more of allowing that you're wherever you are at the right time. But it takes that sort of, those incremental vibrational shifts where you give yourself permission to move a different way, where you give yourself permission to allow a different way of being. And I think you very much have journeyed this in your own life.
Or you don't. And your higher self says, I'm not waiting any longer. And you get slapped and bashed. Like your watch is breaking, for example. That's not such a harsh one. We all know that there can be
much bigger,
horrendous circumstances. Oh, yeah. So we're all going to get there. And this is what I repeat. It's either with grace or with resistance.
Yes.
But yes, I'm not sure, again, going back to the word permission, I know that's the word I've used in the past. Permission seems too low vibrational for me at the moment, but it's the one I've used. So I'm not sure I have a new one yet. Maybe the sharing, the gift, the blessing, when I
say permission, it's like, it's a portal. It's like a way of accessing, and I don't have the words yet, but something like that, where I allow myself to into a new space that I was previously like, you know.
Free ourselves? We free ourselves?
We free ourselves. I like that better. We free ourselves.
Okay. It's just that slightly more emancipated experience than giving permission.
Like authoritative. People are watching us.
And it's working against the negative, whereas free is just flowing on the, again, whatever. You know, you get it. We got it.
If sovereign could be a verb, and we can make it a word, I sovereign myself. You know?
Absolutely. Right. We can make up anything we want. You know how many words I make up. It's our universe. We get to do what we want.
Exactly.
I mean, just think, do you know that you're not allowed to wear pink and red together? You're not, because that's what I was taught when I was a little girl. So you obviously can never wear pink and red together.
I've never heard that before. Yeah.
You know how many little girls growing up in South Africa must have had clothing issues if ever they dared to. This is the absurdity of programming.
It is
Free.
free.
You only get a tattoo if you are this. What? But we make light of it now. And this is the joy of it, because we've spent our lives being in judgment. I know when I brought in clearings, the manipulation timelines go. That doesn't mean to say that it's cleared out of all of our systems, but the timelines are finished. And that's when I spoke about it's that residue. However, if you are going to feed it, you can build that timeline again. And that's the consciousness is release, release, release. We are free.
To that point, we are free. And to many people who do go to healers, and many of us need that support, or we desire that support, so we create that support. But always know, because a lot of people come to me and said, oh, I saw somebody and they already cleared that out of my field. And I'll say, but you're still vibrating it. So you're still recreating it. And that's where we do ultimately learn to truly free yourself. We do it ourselves. But sometimes we need the support to facilitate.
Well, that's why I would say that we're not healers anymore. I think anyone who wants to heal is still in an old mentality. I don't believe you're a healer. You're an activator. You're a supporter. But I know you well enough to know that you are not going to tell anybody that you're going to heal them, because you know it is their gift to heal themselves. And it's not even really healing because it's not broken. But you are an energy facilitator. You hold the space, but you bless them to do the work, because that's what we came here for. I know sometimes we think we must have been really dumb, but actually we did it from the place of the greatest love, and that's where we're returning to. And that's what I do. I activate people. I know the ego doesn't like it, but I'm not interested in the ego. I love the soul too much to be confused by the dramas of the ego. You know, I know we're running late now, but quickly for anyone, I've looked after children for a very long time, very little children. I'm used to egos. I don't enjoy it, and I won't work in groups of children anymore, because it's just like done with that. Not from children, but I see it is the physical representation of the ego on steroids. And I'm not interested. When your child is throwing a temper tantrum, as the responsible adult in the room, you have to decide, am I going to feed the temper tantrums when the child is spinning out of control, or am I going to be the bad guy or whatever, but the responsible, loving parent, and give the child safety boundaries that he or she at that stage of development doesn't know how to do for themselves. And we've all done both of them, but we all do aspire to not actually craving into the tantrum. Some of us just want peace and quiet. And this is what it is with our egos. That is the child going ballistic, and love it. We spent a lot of time wanting to kill the ego, get rid of the ego.
Yes.
Love it. See it for what it is. Don't let it be your master. It is it's the actor in the play of this created reality.
Theater, exactly.
Well, I went off there, but yes, I know that you are not a healer. I know that you are a holder of space. You are an energy conduit and facilitator, but I know that you also recognize the sacredness in everyone's capacity to be their sovereign selves and to sovereign themselves.
Exactly. And that may be the best place to round this out today. But Livia, I absolutely want to have you back, because these streams that come from our heart centers, there's nothing planned before these podcasts. And this is what we're moving into, is we don't have to have the plan, because our hearts are always leading us exactly where we're meant to be.
I need to respond to that, because if you can imagine like surfing a wave, like in the tube, that tube is the heart space. So anybody who's listening to this, you're in that heart space vibration now, but it's not mine or Marie's, it's yours, which actually it's all of ours. And that's what it's about. And I think the most joyous thing for me about this was, it's probably the only thing I've ever done that I don't have notes with me. I haven't prepared anything for it, because we have to come to that place. We don't have to, we'll get whatever. 5D and above is the places of being. You can't prepare to be. That's the mind. You just be. And oh my goodness, what could be wrong? You open yourself up. You are vulnerable knowing that you are safe because you are. There's not enough time to go on, but it's that heart space portal that we are expanding because that's what we are. And so whether it's listening to this, whether it's going out into nature, whether it's smelling a fragrance that you love, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. You get into that vibration where your heart expands, or you force the breaths to start with, but you're not forcing it because you've remembered enough to call upon yourself to cooperate with the expansion of your heart opening. So I know that this has activated everyone as it should, and I know that it is received beautifully. And again, as you said, like whenever you're listening, there is no time. I listened to things that were done in 2015. The old me would have thought, what a waste of money. The time hasn't passed. That's where I am in that energy portal. That's what I need to hear.
Yes.
So love and blessings.
So beautiful.
And I thank everyone on this journey because you are all taking me home because I am you and you are me. And so exciting.
It is so good. Well, and I just want to invite our listeners to, find us, subscribe on YouTube. We're growing this community of light. We are being these expressors of our light body, right? As this monad that we've talked about today. So subscribe to the channel so you do get the notifications when we have a new little sparkle of inspiration. And you can also find us at our website, wholesoulmastery.com. And until next time, we both send love and blessings to everyone. Namaste.